20 years or so, this part of Herring Avenue in the city of Ozark became a shrine. In fact, if you look right over there, you'll see the crosses. They've been in place since 1999, the very site where the bodies of Tracy, Hallett, and J.B. Beasley were found in the trunk of Beasley's vehicle. The long wait on who the alleged killer is appears to be over.
For 24 years, two mothers waited for a name. The man who killed their daughters lived less than a mile from where the girls were found. He filled up at the gas station. He stood in line at the store. On Sundays, he preached. He'd built his own ministry. A husband, a father of two. The kind of man nobody in that town ever thought twice about. Not a neighbor, not a friend. Not even his own wife ever knew. Two 17-year-old girls were shot and left in the trunk of a car. The man who did it left behind DNA specific enough to convict him the moment anyone found a match. Nobody found one. Not for 24 years. Now go back to the night before any of this was true. July 31st, 1999. J.B. Beasley turns 17. She's a cheerleader at Northview High in Dothan, Alabama. The kind of girl people remember being in a room with, not because she announced herself, but because the room changed a little when she left. Her best friend, Tracy Hallett, is 5 months older and has been inseparable from her since middle school. Not the kind of closeness you have to explain to people, the kind they can just see. Tonight, there's a birthday party waiting for them 10 miles up the road in Headland. JB gets behind the wheel of her black Mazda 929. Tracy climbs in beside her. Two 17-year-olds, a warm summer night, a party to get to. They never find it. Somewhere along the way, they miss a turn. Instead of 10 miles to Headland, they drive more than 20 in the wrong direction, into a town called Ozark that neither of them knows at all. After 11:30 that night, the Mazda pulls into the Big Little Store, a Chevron station that closed its doors half an hour earlier. A woman named Marilyn Merritt is in the parking lot with her daughter, buying sodas. Two polite, neatly dressed girls walk up and ask her for directions back to Highway 231. That's all they want. No trouble, no shortcuts, just the way home. Merritt gives them clear directions. While that's happening, the store's own security camera is recording something nobody in Ozark will be able to explain for the next 20 years. A small white pickup truck parked at the gas pump, engine off, not buying gas. The man behind the wheel doesn't move. He just watches. Tracy walks to a payphone at the front of the store and calls home. Her mother, Carol, picks up. Tracy tells her they took a wrong turn, but a woman gave them directions, and they're on their way. Then, before she hangs up, she says 4 words. Ordinary words. The kind you say without thinking, on your way out of a room. Mom, I love you. That is the last anyone ever hears from either girl. By morning, Carol Roberts has already called JB's family. Both girls should have been home hours ago. Before 9 o'clock, both families have called the police. At almost that same hour, an Ozark patrol officer notices a black Mazda 929 sitting on Herring Avenue, a quiet street a block from the county hospital. It isn't crashed. It isn't hidden. It's just parked there, like someone stepped out and never came back. Doors unlocked. A window cracked. Mud streaked across every panel. The tank almost empty. Police run the plates. Dothan registration. They send a Dothan investigator out to have it towed. He looks through the windows. JB's driver's license is sitting right there on the dashboard. Both girls' wallets are on the seats, cash still in them, jewelry too. Whatever this is, robbery isn't it?
And then he waits. For the tow truck. For hours. 6 of them. Officers circle that car, look through the glass, run the plates again, and not one of them opens the trunk.
less than a mile from the payphone where Tracy said she was on her way home. It's almost 2 in the afternoon when the investigator finally finds a trunk release lever inside the car. He pulls it. J.B. Beasley and Tracy Hallett are inside. Each of them shot once in the head. One shell casing is found near Tracy, a second is never found. Tracy is underneath, J.B. above her. Both girls are still fully clothed. Both of them are wet from the knees down. Mud and grass and thorns scratched into Tracy's arm, into the fabric of her pants, into a brand new pair of shoes she'd bought just the week before. Wherever that happened, it wasn't Herring Avenue. That road is paved, and it's dry. Somewhere between the payphone and this trunk, these 2 girls stood in wet grass in the dark. No one will ever be able to tell you exactly where. Nothing has been taken. The cash, the jewelry, the credit cards, all of it's still there. Just one small keychain is missing, blocks of white and black spelling out 2 words, hard to get. It will never turn up again. The first autopsy finds no sign of sexual assault, nothing in either girl's system. Investigators are standing in front of a double murder with nothing stolen, no motive, no suspect, no way in. That silence lasts 2 months. Then, the Alabama State Crime Lab sends back a report. Semen found in JB's bra, in her underwear, on her skin. An unidentified palm print lifted from the underside of the trunk lid. Dale County's District Attorney, David Amory, says it plainly. What happened to JB was sexual in nature. Whoever left that sample is the man who killed them. This is the moment the case is supposed to break open. The DNA is not a rumor, not a theory. It is a biological fingerprint that can only belong to one person on the planet. They run it against Alabama's own database. Nothing. They run it against CODIS, the FBI's national system. Nothing there either. Sit with that for a second. The sample is perfect, complete, undeniable, and it belongs to a man who has never been arrested, never been convicted, never given a single law enforcement agency in the country a reason to log his name anywhere. Dothan doesn't know who he is, but they know he's out there. A reward fund climbs past $15,000. The state adds 10,000 more. 500 interviews. Every block within a mile of Herring Avenue walked on foot more than once. More than 70 men agreed to give a sample. Every single one of them was cleared. About 4 weeks after the trunk was opened, a 28-year-old mechanic named Johnny Barentine walks into the Ozark police station on his own and says he has information. For 4 hours, his story keeps changing. First, it's a black truck he saw near Herring Avenue. By the 6th version, he's the man who watched from his own car while a tattooed stranger got into the girl's Mazda, led them to Herring Avenue, and shot them both. He's arrested that same day. For a little while, Dothan believes it's over. Except in every version Barentine tells, he never once mentions anything sexual happening to JB, the exact detail that's supposed to explain why any of this happened. The neighbor he names has a confirmed alibi. The DNA clears both of them completely. When Barentine finally sits in front of a grand jury, he admits the truth. He made the entire thing up for the reward money. He was never there. He never saw anything. The grand jury refuses to indict. Weeks of work, gone. 2 more leads are coming, and they close the same way. After that, the case doesn't move. Not for nearly 2 decades. What finally breaks it open is a murder case in California. One that has nothing to do with Alabama, and everything to do with what happens when someone decides to try one more thing with a sample that has been sitting in a lab for 19 years with no one to match it to. Stay with me. Investigators run down every lead that comes in. Every one of them collapses. A man seen near Herring Avenue that same night leaves town within days, unable to account for several hours of his evening. Investigators fly to Michigan 3 separate times to question him. His DNA clears him. A man from Mississippi staying in Ozark vanishes right after the murders. They find him, take a sample, and clear him. And that white pickup truck from the security footage, the one sitting at the pump while Tracy was on the phone with her mother. Police release the image to the media. Nobody ever comes forward. Nobody ever explains it. The truck just disappears, and so does the man who was inside it, as completely as if neither of them were ever there. 3 leads, 3 dead ends. The file gets thinner, not thicker.
Years start to pass. Not in dramatic leaps, in the quiet accumulation of birthdays nobody gets to have. The original detectives retire or move on. New investigators inherit a folder they can't do anything more with. Every so often, someone pulls the DNA profile and runs it again. The database keeps growing. 2005, 2010, 2014. Every time, the answer is the same. Nothing. CODIS only holds the DNA of people who've been arrested or convicted, and the man who left that sample has never been either. Which means he could be standing 3 feet behind you at a gas station in Dothan, and every computer in the country would look right past him. Carol Roberts will later say she hasn't slept through a full night since July 31st, 1999. The worst moments, she says, are never the anniversaries. They're the ordinary ones. Holidays, dinners, a chair that stays empty at the table. Then, in April of 2018, a case 3,000 miles away cracks the method open. In California, a former police officer named Joseph James DeAngelo is arrested after more than 4 decades of walking free. He was responsible for at least 13 murders and dozens of assaults across the 70s and 80s. His DNA was never in CODIS either. What finds him is a technique nobody in law enforcement had tried at scale before. Investigators upload the crime scene DNA to GEDmatch, a public genealogy website where ordinary people have submitted their own DNA results to trace family history. The search doesn't find DeAngelo directly. It finds his distant cousins, people who share fragments of his DNA without having the slightest idea what that means. From there, investigators build his family tree backward, branch by branch, until one name fits every piece. Ozark's police chief, a man named Marlos Walker, watches that case from Alabama, and he isn't reading it as news. He's reading it as a method. A semen sample, a girl who was 17, 20 years without a single match. He calls the same lab that worked DeAngelo, a firm called Parabon Nanolabs, and sends them the 1999 sample. Find the family, he tells them. Narrow it down. Parabon comes back with a list. Alabama families whose genetic markers overlap with the crime scene sample. Walker goes through it. One name stops him. He doesn't recognize it from the case file. He doesn't recognize it from any tip that's come in over 20 years. He recognizes it because he grew up in the same town. Before I tell you who it is, drop your best guess in the comments right now. Because when you hear the answer, I want you to remember what you thought. His name is Coley McCraney. He is 45 years old. For 20 of those years, he has lived inside the same community as J.B. Beasley and Tracy Hallett. The same roads, the same stores, the same Sunday mornings. He drives trucks for a company out of Troy. He is a military veteran, a Carroll High graduate. By 2013, the founder of his own ministry, Spirit and Truth Lifeline Ministries. He has 2 children with his wife, Jeanette. He lives less than a mile from Herring Avenue. In 20 years, he has never been arrested, never been questioned, never given anyone in Dale County a single reason to pull his file. Walker doesn't bring him in as a suspect. He calls him in as a neighbor. 2 men who grew up in the same town, having a conversation about an old case that still needs help.
He tells McCraney he isn't under suspicion, that police just need a sample to help rule people out. Jeanette comes with him. She sits beside her husband and tells him he should cooperate. In 20 years of marriage, he has never given her a reason to think twice. She says it the way a person says something they are certain of. She has earned it over 20 years, and it has never been wrong, not once that she could see. McCraney agrees to give a sample. He doesn't need to think about it. An officer takes it from the inside of his cheek, a few seconds, nothing more. McCraney cooperates the way a man cooperates when he believes the room is on his side. Then he walks back out into the town he has moved through for 2 decades, past the gas stations and the churches, the streets he knows by heart, carrying whatever he has carried since July 31st, 1999. What neither of them knows, sitting in that room, is that the meeting was a formality before it began. Parabon had already done the work. The family tree had been built backward, branch by branch, and it had ended with his name before Walker ever picked up the phone. The swab isn't an investigation, it is a confirmation. The results come back unambiguous, not similar, not partial, identical to the DNA found on J.B. Beasley's clothing 20 years earlier. When they sit him down and tell him, McCraney says he never met either girl. He was never in Ozark that night. On March 15, 2019, Coley McCraney is arrested on 4 counts of capital murder and 1 count of rape.
Mr. Coley McCraney? Yes. Okay. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or be held against you before law.
The state will seek the death penalty. What moves through Dothan and Ozark is not relief. It is something heavier and harder to name. A pastor, a father, a man people greeted at church, passed on the road, made small talk with at gas stations, standing the whole time inside the same small radius as the families still waiting for his name. The trial should have started in 2020. COVID pushes it back 3 years. It isn't until April of 2023, almost 24 years to the night after the Big Little Store, that the case finally reaches a jury in Dale County. McCraney takes the stand himself, a real gamble in a capital case. The story he tells looks nothing like his denial 4 years earlier. He'd met J.B. before, he says, at a mall in Dothan. She gave him her number. They'd made plans to meet in Ozark that night. His truck broke down at that same gas station. He saw the girls at the payphone and got a ride with them. What happened between them was consensual. They dropped him home around 12:45 in the morning. There is no call log, no witness, nothing placing him near J.B. before that night. Marilyn Merritt takes the stand again and says exactly what she said in 1999. 2 anxious, lost girls focused on nothing but getting home. Attorney General Marshall walks McCraney through his own timeline in cross-examination. 45 minutes, start to finish. Happened pretty fast, didn't it? He says. Then the state calls Jeanette, the same woman who sat beside her husband in 2019 and told him to cooperate because she believed in him completely. Now she is on the stand, under oath. She tells the jury that on the night of July 31st, 1999, her husband left the house around 10 o'clock, that his routine had him home by 11:30, that he didn't walk back through the door until 12:45 in the morning, that the reason he gave her back then was car trouble at a gas station, the same station where 2 girls made their last phone call home. 20 years of marriage, 2 children, a ministry, and she is the one who puts him at the scene, at the hour, on the night it happened. On April 26, 2023, The jury returns. Guilty. All 4 counts. The murder of J.B. Beasley during a rape. The murder of Tracy Hallett in that same act. Both girls in the same course of conduct. And the use of J.B.'s Mazda in the crime itself. The following day, McCraney is sentenced to life without parole. The state asked for death. The jury chose the other option, a cell with no way out for the rest of his life. Carol Roberts sits completely still when the verdict is read. Cheryl Bagoon leans forward and sobs. And in the front row, where he has sat for every hearing, every briefing, every year with nothing new to report, is Mike Roberts. The man who raised Tracy as his own from the time she was small. He hears the word guilty. Less than a year later, he dies. He was 74. He held on just long enough. From a phone inside the William E. Donaldson Correctional Facility in Bessemer, Alabama, McCraney tells ABC News he's still innocent, that people can call him whatever they want, that he didn't do this. The DNA said otherwise. It said so long before he ever spoke those words, stored in a lab while the man it would eventually identify was filling up at the gas station down the road. 24 years later, there's still one thing nobody has ever found. A small keychain, white and black blocks spelling out 2 words, hard to get. It was on that dashboard, in that car, the night these girls went missing. And then, it was gone. Somewhere in Dothan, Alabama, a woman still hears 4 words in her sleep. 4 ordinary words her daughter said from a payphone at a closed gas station in a town she'd never been to. Never knowing they would be the last words her mother would ever hear her say. Mom, I love you. If this is the kind of story that brought you here, subscribe. There are more of them, and the next one is already coming.